Welcome to Quick Shots, a short format traditional archery podcast, where we introduce you to some of the world's most influential traditional archers, and occasionally, some random dudes.
What tab are you shooting?
Ghost!
Ghost tab, obviously.
Check out CD Archery, performance ILF risers for hunters to world champions. cdarchery.com. Made right here in the United States of America. Don't forget to check out our sponsor, archerypass.com, for all your traditional archery needs. Hey everyone, welcome back to Quick Shots. I'm your host, Mick Chambers. I'm here with Nick Hart. Hey Nick, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, Mick. How about you?
Oh, dude, I'm so happy that you said yes to this interview. I haven't done an interview in a while, but I've got a lot of people say, "Hey, get this guy on the line." I'm like, okay, I don't know him that well. Like this is the first time meeting you, but I'm really excited to do this because from what I've seen, saw, sir, whatever, you're a shooter, dude. You're like you're the real deal.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I didn't do anything. All I'm doing
Well, it's no stranger that you probably haven't heard of me. I'm not on the commercial circuit. I have never shot a piece of paper in my life. I have no formal training. So I'm kind of a backyard dojo kind of guy, like you said. And,
Yeah.
I have 30 years invested into archery. I've been shooting since I was 5. I say that to people and they're like, how can you have 30 years experience? And I'm like, I've been competing since the Cub division and never really let down. There's a period in my 20s that, it certainly slowed down, priorities shifted, college, girls, all the things, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But, recently in the last 5-7 years, I kind of put the gas pedal on. There was a period in my late 20s where, I was struggling with some mental health stuff. And I'm like, what is missing from my life? What is it? And it kind of just hit me like a sack of bricks. It's like, dude, you're not shooting your bow anymore,
Wow.
And at the time, our business was young and required a lot of energy. And coming out of that college lifestyle where priorities were different, just paying the rent was the top priority, let alone traveling shoots. So, I'd go to a couple local shoots, 2-3 a year, but what certainly wasn't training and wasn't competing at the level that I knew that I was able to. And I shifted my priorities and, started training and realized that I had a long way to go to get back to peak performance, and had to break a lot of bad habits. Starting so young, in the terms of like board sports and extreme sports, we use the term Grom. There's a lot of benefits that can come out of starting so young. And fundamentals, all that stuff, you just have so many hours. Your soft brain at those young ages can just absorb so much.
Yeah.
And, competing in those young years, a lot of ego was formed in the Cub, youth, young adult stage. Cause, you feel like, oh, I'm the best, I'm undefeated. But really, you're not shooting against anyone either, and so what ended up happening is, I shot bow hunter freestyle growing up. My dad bought me a little PSE Brave, I think for my 6th birthday or something. And I shot that thing pretty much till the wheels fell off. It was before even cams. Right.
Yeah.
And, at about 13, 14, my dad had fully transitioned. Tim Hart had fully transitioned to shooting trad at that point. And I was still hunting with the compound and competing with the trad bow through those teen years, and, started getting pretty good. And it wasn't long before they were like, you need to scoot back to the adult stakes and, push yourself a little bit more, and kept going. And, my head grew bigger and bigger and bigger with every tournament, and then I made a fatal mistake of getting overbowed,
Oh, yeah.
Young, egotistical 16, 17-year-old thinking that, hey man, I need to shoot 55 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go hunt Canada. I want to go hunt Alaska. I need to shoot these big, heavy bows, and developed a slew of bad habits, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to say I snapshot my way through my 20s.
Some people are still doing it. Some people are still doing it.
Yeah. For sure, and unfortunately didn't break those habits until I kind of came back to it after my time off. Not time off, but, slow time. Mm-hmm. And when I really re-entered the programming, I tried to start from the ground up, and, found the mentors that, could teach me what they could, and, pushed myself and got my physical abilities to be able to execute. But it was just a few months ago that I realized it's this that needs the training now.
Yeah.
And I was in a conversation with Alan Eagleton at our state trad shoot a few months ago. And he paid me a very kind compliment. He said, Nick, if there's anything I know about you, you don't need any help shooting. You got to get it right up here and get that part dialed. And it clicked quick, and that was just last February. And I've been focusing extremely hard on my mental training the last few months, and quickly saw the results just a couple weekends ago at the NFAA National Championship.
Hey, so I want to dig into the mental training part, because honestly, like we have dug a lot into the mental side on this program. More so than the form. I originally started the podcast thinking, let's get these guys on that are really good at top level in their sport, and people who aren't, and then see what the differences sort of are between, what the equipment they use and what's their shot process and what's their setup. But then I quickly realized that a lot of people started talking about the mental game and how you get better at the mental game. Because I think we fool ourselves in traditional archery. It's like building repetition, right? And as long as you build repetition, you're good. You're done. It's like, but repetition in the backyard and then repetition on the competition line. It's just
two different things.
Yeah. You want repetition on the competition line, but you got to overcome that mental anguish. It's physically, it's mentally draining. Like for you to go on to that NFAA championship, that had to have been like incredibly mentally draining for you.
It could have been,
okay.
And 2 years ago when I shot it, it very much was. I beat myself mentally, and, podiums are not my goal. I still ended up taking third 2 years ago, but, it's me versus me out there, and that's how I approach every tournament. I know what I'm capable of, and I am constantly, wanting to push, further and further. So, stepping out there last weekend, man, we had quite a group of shooters in our group, lucky enough to shoot with Chris Garcia and, Mike Santiago, Gary McCain, Mason Ferris. There's a lot of really good shooters in that group out there. And, one of the most beautiful parts about it is none of us want to beat each other so bad that we see each other make a mistake and, we're taking that moment of weakness and attacking. No, we're grabbing each other, and making sure that we're doing what we need to do to get back on track. Because, we all want everyone to perform well. That's part of the beauty of traditional archery that I think is unique to our division. I don't think you get those same mentalities in other divisions.
Hey everyone, I want to introduce our brand new Patreon sponsor, the Push Archery. Head on over to pusharchery.com. They have amazing content. They're amazing people. Support them. Support content creators like them. We're really happy to have them on board. And get primal. So why don't you explain? Yeah. So I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of Midwest, East Coast understanding of archery, right? So lots of people who are listening to this, well, not with you on, probably people will be listening to West Coast, but for the guys that are East Coast, I think that maybe the divisions might be a little different and the way you guys shoot are a little different. I'm not sure if it's NFAA, it should be the same, but you shoot trad division, correct?
I mean, there's a lot of variety out here on the West Coast. You know, I don't strictly shoot NFAA tournaments, okay. You know, but what is trad is a big debate out here, you know, and there are a lot of guys and gals out there who wouldn't consider barebow trad. You know, it's single string, it's a recurve. I get it, you know, and I'm on the fence myself, you know, especially as an event host, you know, and I got a bunch of barebow guys wanted to come and shoot our event, you know, but I also have a huge chunk of the population who don't consider that traditional. And, you know, so I'm still trying to figure that out, you know, out here, you know, they separate longbow wood and longbow carbon pretty regularly. Mm-hmm. And in some smaller clubs, if you're shooting longbow carbon, they'll put you in the recurve class, you know, but I know it's about the Indian, not the bow, so it doesn't bother me none. You know, so things are a little different out here from region to region. You know, you participate in an NFAA, you know, level thing, and you got to play by those rules. But the big tournament hosts out here in California is CBH, California Bow Hunters. Yep. And, you know, their rules are, you know, pretty similar to NFAA. The one major difference is that they have a recurve traditional class and they have a recurve limited class, where in NFAA, they combine those two. So for instance, last weekend, if you were shooting a wood bow recurve off the shelf, you were competing against guys like Mason Ferris and Gary McCain, who have a rest and a 12-inch stabilizer. You know, advantage? I don't know, you know, but, you know, some people think so for sure. Yeah. I mean, they wouldn't make those things if there was some sort of advantage to doing that. Right. I get what you're saying though. You know, it's in the end, it's going to come down to a strong mental game, and shot process. But if you're shooting a 54-inch, you know, recurve against a, you know, a 68-inch, you know, WF 29, and you know, he's with it just doesn't feel fair. So I get what they're saying. I think all trad are so me personally, I think everyone that's shooting single string is trad archer, except for the Olympic guys. Then the only reason I say that is because they're Ollie, right? They have their own category. They have their own category in the Olympics and stuff like that. And not that I don't think that they could be trad, you know, like they still shoot a single string, right? No aids holding the string back for them. So right. You know, what do you? I mean, I want to get to you though. So what are you shooting? Like, what class are you shooting in? You know, longbow's my true love. That's for sure. You know, I just like the way the limbs feel when they go off, you know, the way the string snaps closed. I am definitely a diehard longbow guy. The last few years, I know I've been shooting longbow this year, and I dedicated myself to shooting longbow all season this year. But I had switched to recurve the last 5-6 years because I wanted to shoot against more competitive archers. You know, not saying any discredit to my longbow guys out there and gals. There's a lot of good shooters. Bernard Guzman, you know, me and him go back and forth a lot. Anthony, great shooter too. But there was more consistent competition in the recurve class, down in my area, Don Stocks, man, you got to have a good day to beat that guy, even when he's on a bad day. Yeah. But, I kind of hadn't made that shift, and I was shooting a Predator recurve for many years there, a couple different versions of the Predator, and then transitioned to a Bob Lee, which has always been like my dream bow. I was lucky enough that someone loaned me one in my teenage years. I fell in love, but could never afford one.
I know, they're a lot.
But last few years business has been good, and I treated myself and bought myself a couple of Bob Lees, and honestly, I don't know if I'll ever go back. At least in a competition setting. I'm a bit promiscuous in the backyard, that's for sure. I shoot a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. So what's your Bob Lee? What Bob Lee did you get, and what's your weight on that thing?
So once again, promiscuous. Yeah. So I got the Ultimate, which is a solid micarta riser. Yep. Inspired by getting my ass beat by some of those barebow guys at the NFAA tournament a few years ago. I was like, man, there's got to be something to having all that weight. Little bit of tweak here and there, it just absorbs it, not as much. So I was like, okay, let's get one of these micarta risers, see what it's all about. And I had instant, impact in my performance, feeling, what that weight could offer. So shooting, it's marked 47, but I draw a little bit over 28. So I'm getting closer to 52 out of the glass limbs, and really loving that 62-inch bow, 17-inch riser. I also got a pair of the Cobra curves, little heavier weight, specifically for hunting in mind. And, haven't had too many opportunities to take it out the last few years, but got a couple trips that we're looking to book here, and hopefully get to put some arrows through those Cobra curves.
That's nice, dude.
Yeah. And
so what's the hunting? Where are you going hunting, and what are you going to hunt?
Well, I'm not sure when this is going to air, but this might be a surprise for my dad. His 70th birthday is coming up, and I want to take him on the hunt of his choice. I know he loves Alaska and Canada, big caribou guy, but I also know it's been a few years since he's had the opportunity to go elk hunting. So, going up there in a couple weeks, probably after this airs. So sorry if it spoils the surprise, Dad, but let's go bag a bull, let's get out there and walk the land and have some time, father and son.
Yeah, dude, that's sweet. That's awesome. That's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see those pictures though. And see you guys out there hunting. That's cool. That's neat that your dad's Tim, right?
Tim. Yeah. He, absolute legend, once again, under the radar guy on the national level, but you ask anybody in California and I'm sure they know who he is. And, that was also part of my dilemma, coming into my more modern, up-to-date archery career, is for the first 25 years, I was just Tim's son. And that's how they would refer to me as, you're like, oh, you're Tim's son, right? Oh yeah. Yeah.
Shadow.
I'm Tim's son, and it wasn't until that, my scores were consistently higher than him that people actually started noticing my name was Nick. So, all credit due to my father though, man. He is a hell of a shooter and a hell of a competitor, but truly his skills lie in the field hunting. We call him the magnet, because the
really has that kind of luck. Is that kind of luck? I love that.
I kid you not. I mean, growing up, I started hunting with my dad at about 7 years old. And 3 out of 4 weekends a year, we're hunting. I mean, 3 out of 4 weekends a month we're hunting, and the other weekend we're going to a tournament. Like, wow, straight up, that's what we did. And growing up, like, I did not eat beef at all. It was not in the freezer. We were eating pig, we were eating deer, we were eating elk and bear. I mean, it was just the way I was raised. And so spent a lot of time in a tree stand deer hunting in Santa Cruz, California, where I grew up, and, still hunting those same consistent holes. My dad pulled the buck out of there every single year. And, we're lucky enough to go pig hunting on some property down by Fort Hunter Liggett down in Central Coast, California. Lots of pigs out there. And, we were out there every weekend chasing them around, but it doesn't matter because they all go to him. But, at the same time,
you need to stay in the same stand as him. You need to be in the same stand.
No, then they wouldn't come around at all, Upon reflection, I feel like my vibration was not correct. I wanted to bag an animal so bad that I was sending out these predator vibes, where, he immerses himself into the environment and becomes part of the forest. And then all of a sudden they're right there at 5 yards. So
that's amazing.
I'm hoping that I can, enter the hunting game with a different mindset as an adult and, hopefully have a little bit more success.
That's really interesting, man. Like, seriously, the fact that you're, just talking about becoming one with nature and then just sitting there and, you say your dad's sort of like that. And as much, sort of, I think of that show Kung Fu when I was a kid, and the guy would just sit there and he would let, a snake crawl across him or whatever, because he's just part of he was a tree. I think, when I'm up in a stand and stuff like that, there is that vibe. There's like, I don't want to waste another day up here. I got to get something. There's something has to show up. It's probably the wrong attitude. It probably does impact your ability to see animals.
Yeah, I mean, they're so much more sensitive and aware to instincts than we are. We have so many other stimulations as a modern human that I feel anyway, that we've lost touch to a lot of these sensitivities, but they certainly have not. And so, it's like when someone walks in, when your friend walks into the room and you can immediately tell that their attitude's off. Is that any different for an animal and a predator? So, I don't know.
I want to talk about something a little East Coast, West Coast, and don't take this the wrong way. I mean, I'm not taking one side or the other, but I got to throw it out here.
Okay.
I don't even know how to bring this. Maybe I should just say it. What is going on with wearing a glove? Like, who wears gloves anymore?
I wear gloves.
Who the hell wears a glove anymore?
Oh man. I tell you what, if you teach me how to use a tab, I might consider it. But I've certainly tried in the backyard and I completely fall apart, man. Well,
Really?
I'm self-taught. I mean, my father, of course, but he was also self-taught, in the early 90s, like you read a book and you tried to apply it. You couldn't just YouTube Joel Turner or, and figure out how to make this thing come together.
Yeah.
Nor did you have as many people with that knowledge to talk when you're at the club or at the practice butts and share this knowledge in a community forum. I think there was a lot more people who figuring it out on their own, trial and error. You read Fred Ashby's book, okay, hold it like this, you're trying to do that, and hey, single bevel's the way, and FOC, and like, yeah, okay, I love all these things, I see the results, but how do I aim? You don't. And my students ask me that all the time, and I'm like, my answer is always the same. Like, do you aim when you throw a ball?
Yeah.
Do you aim when you kick a ball? No, you just look at your target, right? And so that's how I was raised to shoot. You just look at the spot and you shoot enough arrows and your brain collects enough data that you can start envisioning that flight pattern and they'll start dropping in there eventually, But now knowing all the information that's out there, yeah, man, I mean, there's just so much more accessibility to cutting straight to the chase. But I don't think that people should rely on the quality of information. You still got to get out there and do it yourself. You got to get your reps in.
Yeah.
But
So
back to the glove. Well, I gotta answer your
Yeah,
question.
yeah. Get to the glove. Get the glove. I got more questions for you.
Oh man, I have been shooting the glove my whole life. I just like the way the string feels in my finger. My dad shoots no glove at all. He shoots bare fingers. He's a beast. It's crazy. I don't know how he does it. But I have tried to use a tab, and tried to figure it out, because a lot of the guys out here shoot with tabs. A lot of the guys and gals shoot with tabs. It's very common, I would say, but no one sat down and taught me how to do it. Well, I can't figure it out on myself, man.
You like to chew on your finger at full draw. You like to
I bury it right in there.
Yeah, you get it in your mouth, and you kind of, you're like a little bit. I've been watching a little bit of your form, and so it's not aiming. It's a form thing for you too, right? So I think if you went to a tab, it'd be tough.
Yeah, and that kind of chewing thing has been something that's kind of developed in maybe like the last 2 years, even that's new. But I lose the sensitivity and the dexterity when I have a tab.
Yeah.
And like, I know I can fudge with my parts and stuff better when I'm, not shooting, but I don't know, man. I mean, I'm sure if I got enough reps in and someone showed me how to properly, apply the pressure and where you got to do this, but when the zombie apocalypse comes, I don't want to wear a tab.
No. Okay. All right. I mean, a lot of people say because of hunting too, they like to wear a glove. Hey, so I want to ask you about your form, your process, your shooting process, because it sounds like to me, you've already told me that you would call yourself instinctive. You'd be an instinctive shooter.
Oh, 100%. I do not claim to be a gap shooter. If you ask me what my point on is, I would say I don't know, because the truth is I don't. And I rotate my equipment so often that it's like you have to completely learn a new system every time you want to, go shoot a different bow, or you program all your bows to shoot at the same speed so that your gaps are sounds like a lot of work to me. I look at what I want to hit, and with all my effort that I possibly can, I try to execute that ability. Now you fast forward, 30 years of instinctive shooting. And in the last couple years, thanks to my pro staff team manager, Mike Santiago, he has started to bring to my attention the benefits of and the consistency that gap can provide, especially at the longer distance. So me personally, and, this is not something that I'm going to tell other people to do. It's something that's built over time. If it's sub 25 yards, I just let my instincts take over. I've been doing this long enough. I've shot millions of arrows. I know what that shot picture looks like, and I just go for it within 25 yards. Now that I'm pushing in the competitive world and wanting to achieve more there, I need the consistency at that 25 to 50 yard range, which was, always hard for instinctive shooters.
Yeah.
So Mike has coined this term gap-stinctive, because that is really what, we're trying to do. So my form and shot process in these longer shots is, I think there's two different things. There is my point of focus, and there is my peripheral awareness. And my point of focus never leaves that spot that I'm aiming at. And I'm big advocate of the aim small, miss small theory. I'm not aiming for the target. I'm not aiming for the ring. I'm not aiming for the spot. I'm aiming for the arrow hole inside the spot, even if it's not in the center. The highest point of contrast of thing that I can focus on, even if it's at the edge of the 11 spot, that's where I'm aiming, that best point of focus that I can find. I do not take my focus off that throughout my whole shot cycle, but I use my peripheral awareness to be aware of where my point is for anything, in that 25-yard range plus. It helps with alignment, missing up and down. Okay, that's all right. Missing right and left, not okay. There's things we need to work on if you're missing right and left. But you shoot a shot, a heart shot 5 or a high 5, and it was a well executed shot. I don't feel bad about a well executed shot. I'm not motivated by the result. I am motivated by focusing on the method and the discipline. Yeah. And that's really what's driving me in these recent years.
That's good. That is good. I would ask you for advice. Well, I am actually going to ask you for some advice for beginners. But I do want to, so I hope you got some more time. We're a little,
I got nowhere to be.
I want to talk about, so there's a few topics I want to get to. Some advice for new shooters or people who want to get better at archery. You've given a ton, so I hope you got one more at least. And then I want to talk about your event, TBC Traditional Rendezvous. I want to know more about that, right? And how people can go there. And then finally, I want to talk about what you're up to next. What's your next big thing? Sounds like a hunt to me, but maybe outside that hunt. So where do you want to start first?
Yeah. So, we'll just take it in that order. So, sorry, remind me of the first one.
The first one is what's your best piece of advice for an archer?
Yeah. So, I think my advice waxes and wanes, based on the person that I'm trying to advise. Teaching is a huge passion of mine. I put a lot of time into teaching, specifically trying to bring new archers in. Being in this community for so long, I have seen the adult division shrink and the senior division grow. And I would like to ensure that, our communities thrive for many years to come. Within that, I think it's every archer's duty to pass it on. That's why archery has been practiced for the last 15,000 years, because we have masters training the next generation. So everybody get out there and share your knowledge. But, if you're asking me what I would provide advice to a new shooter, I think mentorship is obviously important, but on a more granular, achievable level for them would be the only arrow that matters is the one on the string, because people get, especially when they're new, they are having so much fun and they just want to keep shooting and shooting and shooting. And though they're tired, they keep shooting, and then they develop the bad habits. Or, they shoot an arrow and they're already reaching to their quiver to grab the next one before even assessing what happened to that shot or their body. In the follow through, there's all these little breadcrumbs left that tell you why that shot even went 1 inch to the left. Maybe something happened with your wrist. Did you pluck? Did you peek? There's so many small things that can happen that can result in, a unperfect shot, that I would really recommend that everybody focus on just that one arrow, because really it's the only one that matters. That last shot where you missed, it don't matter.
It's done.
The next one in the quiver, it don't matter. It's this arrow right here. And I don't tell my students anything I wouldn't tell myself either. And when you're at the stake or you're in the stand, there's only one arrow,
Just that one.
So mentorship is huge. If you can find a mentor in your area, someone who has knowledge and is willing to share, it's can really fast track your progress, but not everyone has that. And if you're in your backyard figuring this out on your own, slow down.
Great. That's great advice. So what's next for you? What are you up to next?
Well, there's a lot going on. I have set a very modest goal to win a world championship in the next 10 years.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we all got that goal.
Yeah, no doubt. I have been really motivated by a good friend and training partner of mine, Stephanie Carrera, who qualified and went to the 3D World Championship last year. Did a lot of training with her in the last few years to, get her there. And watching her go there and compete, it just made me realize that as much as I love archery, I also love to compete. And, what a honor it would be to, wear the stars and stripes and compete on a global level. So, I say 10 years because it's every other year and that gives me 5 attempts. I like to set realistic, achievable goals. I wouldn't say, hey, I want to do it next year. That's just,
Well, I mean, it's any year. So, like, I mean, the level that I wouldn't say that, because the level that you're shooting at now, and then when you go for the qualification, it could be you. You don't know, man.
No, totally. No, and totally could be. The thing about archery and what's beautiful about it is, it doesn't matter who the best is. It's about today, and like, do you have what it takes today? And I know some of the guys that qualified for the positions that I'd be going for, and I've shot against them in IBO worlds and stuff. And, I know I can run with them, but it all comes down to that day, and we all have good and bad days. And so I'm just excited to push myself to, achieve a childhood dream.
Are you talking longbow now, or are you talking trad division?
So I would probably be shooting trad at that level, shooting my recurve, mostly because you have to shoot wood out of the longbow, and I'm a big Port Orford cedar guy. Shout out to Wapiti, great shafts, but the other people in that division are buying 100 shafts to find their dozen in there. Yeah. And I want to spend my time shooting, not sorting shafts. So I'm lucky enough to have Victory, sponsoring my arrow habit. And so I'd be shooting carbons and shooting a recurve out there at that level. You can still shoot longbow. You'd just be shooting against the recurves, which I think is totally doable. We'll just see how these next, 12 months go leading up to the qualifications. And, I'll go with the best bow that I feel like I could shoot with at that time.
What's your arrows of choice? So Victories, you're sponsored by Victory, but what's your flavor?
I'm a big, there's a couple, my number one quality I look for in an arrow is durability. Okay. I do a lot of weird moving targets, aerial, running around shooting this. There's metal and stuff. Steel targets are huge out here at the West Coast. We shoot a lot of steel targets, but with durability in mind, I love the Rip TKO. It's generated for hunting, so, and I generally shoot my weights even at tournament level, 500 plus grains, so that when I go out to hunt, my stuff is dialed. I don't need to change anything. So I really like the Rip TKOs a lot. 3D HVs and the Rip XVs, fantastic target arrow. I mean, especially in heavy winds, I shoot a lot of high FOC, so that, helps with the wind too. But those micro diameter shafts, man, they are amazing. I really like them.
I keep trying. I get other arrows, and I'm like, but I always, when I go back to 3D HV, I'm just like, yeah, I love these arrows, man. They're so good.
Honestly, I think if you were asking me to pick one, I would say 3D HV. They don't break when they're in the center. That's for sure.
They don't. That's right. But if they're not, they don't. Anywho, great sponsor, great company for barebow and for hunting as well. So I want to talk to you a little
California company too. So love to support local.
Yeah, absolutely. Great products. Let's finish up with the tournament that you host. Talk a
Sure.
little bit about
So,
that. You know, what it is, what it's about, when it is, and any kind of information you can give us on that.
yeah, man, happy to talk and promote this really awesome, long-standing tournament. I just hosted my first iteration of it this last April. Uh, it is a traditional specific tournament. We are not affiliated to any NFAA, ASA acronym, whatever
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah.
there. We are
Alphabet soup.
completely
Yeah.
private and independent,
Yep.
you know, so our rule book is about 3 sentences long, which I love. But this is a event that I've been participating in since childhood. And over the years, you know, at least for us West Coast shooters, it has become like the tournament in terms of traditional archery on the West Coast. This last year, we had 439 registered shooters,
Wow.
every
Trial
single one
shooters.
of them shooting off the shelf.
No
No
way.
elevated rests, like, you
That's
know,
cool.
and this is the debate. You know, people want to get these classes in here, and I'm like, yo, I just started here. Like, I do not, let's let this conversation evolve, and I'm open
Yeah.
to that. But nor do I want to discredit the 20 years of hard service that the people that came before me put into this event. It is 100% charity based. There are no profits taken. You know, obviously costs are covered to run the shoot, but everything else is donated to an organization called Hunt of a Lifetime. This is essentially make a wish for kids who have terminal illness that are looking to go on hunting and fishing trips. Apparently, Make a Wish doesn't accept all wishes.
Yeah.
So, you know, this nonprofit was formed a couple decades ago, and they've been an amazing partner. So all of our proceeds go towards Hunt of a Lifetime, you know, seeing these kids, you know, live out their dreams, which is awesome. So, you know, a lot of really good shooters come out. You know, we like to think of it kind of as the crown jewel, you know, though there is no title. Everybody knows that, you know, if you're winning the last man standing out there, shout out to Mike Fazio this year. He laced like 8 10s in a row to win that shoot down. It was amazing. And, you know, just everyone there is, you know, that's the one everyone wants to win out here. And it just makes it for a lot of fun. And at the same time, as much of a competition shoot it is, we have 7 or 8 different novelties throughout the shoot. We have air-powered hydraulic ram moving targets. We have steel targets. We, you know, all kinds of fun running pigs and speed rounds. How many targets can you shoot in 25 seconds, you know, which, you know, the novelties can, you know, irk some high competitive guys. And I understand that. But hey, at the end of the day, we're out there to have fun. We have 150 of those shooters are registering non-compete. They're just there to hang out and have fun. So, you know, that's what we're all about at the TBC Rendezvous, is getting together, hanging around the campfire, shooting arrows, sharing stories, and most importantly, raising money for that charitable organization.
That's fantastic, my friend. That is fantastic. It sounds like an awesome shoot. You got a ton of people out there. How many people are camping?
I'd say about 300 plus camp, and we get about 100, 150 day use. It's located here in Santa Barbara County in Los Olivos, California, heart of wine country. So, you know, there's no shortage of restaurants, bars, breweries around, hotels, you know, Airbnbs.
See, I think my wife, I
stuff.
could talk my wife into that. Like, you know what I mean?
I'll tell you what, everybody's wives come to this one. The land is beautiful. Everybody wants to be out there.
I know we got like I went to ETAR, you know, ETAR, the Eastern Traditional Rendezvous. It's beautiful, great, awesome people. It sounds like the same kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But it's in Pennsylvania, so it's not very nice. No, I'm kidding. Oh my God. No, I'm kidding.
I didn't say it. No, Pennsylvania's beautiful.
No, it's beautiful. I've never been to Pennsylvania.
Score.
Yeah.
So a little different, but
yeah, they don't keep score there. Yeah, there's no, but it that kind of takes the pressure off. There's not a lot of, you know, there's not that energy, that competitive energy. there either, and it's just kind of chill out. Do you guys get vendors and stuff like that come out?
Yeah. We support as many archery vendors as we can. We charge no vendor fees, so come on out and support. We generally just ask that you donate something towards the raffle, whether it's a $5 item or a $2,000 bow. We have a lot of generous vendors out there. Wapiti and Archery's Past out of Oregon have been huge supporters of this event for over 20 years. So I got to give credit to them. There's been many years where they were the only vendors out there. But we have bowyers, custom bowyers from all over California, flint nappers. Sometimes we're lucky enough to even have blacksmiths on site, forging knives right there on site, cool. Doing classes, all kinds of cool stuff. Atlatl guys, U-bow guys, a lot of different stuff going on. So, food and, we have it catered as well, all organic, local stuff. The caterer is actually a local farmer who owns 14 farms in the area. So he grows all the food himself. And, yeah, so it's quite an event, and I would really love to encourage more people to travel to it and see what we have to offer. It's a beautiful time to be out here in California in the springtime.
Yep.
This year we were lucky enough to have a super bloom, and the flowers have just been amazing. And that goes the same for that NFAA tournament at Break the Barriers, which are back-to-back weekends. We coordinate this with each other because I certainly want to shoot the Break the Barriers. So yeah. We coordinate dates. And if you want to come out to California and you want to make a trip of it, do both, back-to-back weekends, both fantastic, beautiful places, a beautiful time of year, and a huge traditional community to participate with.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thanks so much for doing this interview. First of all,
yeah, man.
Secondly, thanks very much for supporting traditional archery as much as you do. And thanks for being awesome, dude. You're pretty cool. It was great. It was a pleasure to meet you. Shout out to Victory, who sponsors you. They made a good choice there. And just want to say thanks to everyone who's listening. And don't forget to like, subscribe, all that stuff. And go follow Nick on Instagram, On Point Archery on Instagram, I believe. They can follow you there. Flood his Instagram with questions and stuff, because he sounds like he knows what he's doing. So please go out there and follow him. And
appreciate that.
Yeah, no, dude, I appreciate you. Anyway, hunt the good stuff, everyone, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Take care.
Thank you, Mick.